Imagine you're at a 4th of July BBQ in the US, chowing down on burgers and waving a sparkler. Someone proudly says, "Our family's been in America since 1776. Now, halfway around the world, a family in China is wrapping dumplings for a festival that started in 200 BC, 2,000 years before the American Revolution. Whoa! Ever had that moment when you realize your friend's old family recipe is literally older than your country? It's like comparing Captain America to the Terracotta Army. One's from World War II era, so what, 80 years old? And the other's been standing guard for over 2 millennia. So, have you ever wondered how Americans and Chinese truly view their own histories in their everyday lives? So, let's compare how history shows up around us. Daily life and education. In America, history class might start with the Pilgrims or 1776. 200 years feels ancient to an American kid. Meanwhile, in China, children grow up hearing that their civilization has 5,000 years of history. Chinese students memorize dynasties like a giant song, Xia, Shang, Zhou, all the way to the Qing. That's like learning every US president, plus every English king, plus a whole lot more. By high school, a Chinese teen has trekked from the Yellow Emperor, a legendary ancient ancestor, to the current president. If you're curious about all the dynasties in China, drop a comment below and I'll whip up an entire video just to break them down for you. American teens? They're mostly focusing on the last few centuries. Colonial times, the Wild West, the World Wars. Pop culture. The past pops up differently in entertainment. Ever seen the musical Hamilton? It turns the founding fathers into hip-hop stars, basically remixing 240-year-old history into something cool. American pop culture often mines recent history for inspiration. Think of superhero movies where Captain America fights Nazis in World War II. Now switch to China. One of the biggest TV hits in recent years was about royal family intrigue. In the 18th century Qing dynasty, millions of young Chinese binge-watched scheming imperial concubines and emperors from 300 years ago like it was the latest must-see drama. And that's just one example. Chinese media is full of historical epics about warlords, poets, sages, you name it, kind of like America's endless superhero franchises. Beloved stories retold for each new generation. Holidays and traditions. American calendars have holidays like July 4th, Independence Day, or Thanksgiving. On the 4th of July, families grill hot dogs, wear star-spangled outfits, and maybe recall 1776 in between fireworks. It's history turned into a summer party. China, meanwhile, has a national day on October 1st, marking the founding of the People's Republic in 1949, with flag ceremonies and patriotic songs. Similar vibes of national pride. But China also has festivals that reach way, way back. Take the Dragon Boat Festival. It commemorates a poet-statesman from 2,300 years ago, Hu Yuan in the 3rd century BC, with boat races and sticky rice dumplings. Imagine celebrating an event from before the Roman Empire. That's normal in China. By comparison, an American holiday like Thanksgiving, which dates to the 1620s, is relatively recent. Old by American standards, sure, but the 17th century is practically yesterday in Chinese history. National myths and heroes. Both countries have their legendary heroes and origin stories. American kids hear about George Washington, the man who could not tell a lie, the famous cherry tree story, and that America was born from a heroic revolution against tyranny. It's a narrative of brave individuals forging a new nation. Chinese children hear a different set of tales. They learn about the sage Confucius teaching wisdom 2,500 years ago, or Emperor Qin Shi Huang unifying China in 221 BC, and leaving behind the Terracotta Army and the First Great Wall. There's the legend of Mulan, a warrior woman from an ancient ballad which even Disney adapted. Chinese school books also highlight modern patriotic heroes, but the key point is that all these figures, ancient and modern, connect into one long story from antiquity to today. American stories, in contrast, often emphasize a fresh start, a new world built on new ideas, with a history that, while short, is celebrated as revolutionary and world-changing. So why do Americans and Chinese see history so differently? It goes beyond just one being an old nation and the other young. It's about culture and experience. And neither approach is better. They're just different perspectives. In China, history is almost sacred. A famous writer even said, "For Chinese people, history is our religion." With relatively little influence from organized religion, many Chinese turn to the past as a moral guide, seeing history as the ultimate judge of right and wrong. In the US, people tend to be more oriented to the future, guided by ideals and visions of what could be. Think, the American dream. These attitudes shape how each culture treats history. Time, cyclical versus linear. Chinese tradition sees time as a repeating cycle. Dynasties rise and fall. What happened before can happen again. There's an old belief that, to predict the future, you study the past. Americans usually see time as a line of progress, an ongoing march forward where society should advance and innovate. Chinese culture looks backward for wisdom, while American culture looks forward for possibilities. Memory, collective versus individual. Chinese historical memory is very collective. It's told as the saga of a people through time, a continuous epic where we are the protagonists. By contrast, Americans often frame history through individual stories, biographies of great men and women, personal struggles and triumphs. This mirrors the cultural values. Chinese society emphasizes the group and continuity, while American society emphasizes individualism and personal liberty. In short, Chinese history is like a team story spanning millennia, whereas American history is more like a series of spotlight biographies of heroes. Emotion, trauma versus triumph. Modern Chinese identity is shaped by some painful chapters. The century of humiliation, roughly 1840s to 1940s when foreign powers invaded and dominated China, looms large in education. The message is, never forget those lessons of weakness. History carries a cautionary tale. China fell behind before, so it must never happen again. In contrast, American history highlights triumphant chapters. The national story celebrates winning independence, spreading democracy, and victories in wars. Americans also remember tragedies like 9/11, but usually for how the country united or persevered afterward. The overall tone is optimistic. We overcame. So, Chinese historical narrative often instills resolve and a sense of past injustice to rectify, while the American narrative instills pride and confidence about overcoming challenges. Continuity versus reinvention. Finally, think about continuity. China takes pride in being an unbroken civilization, connecting the present with thousands of years of culture. Preserving that continuity is seen as crucial. Too much upheaval is viewed with caution because it could break the chain. On the other hand, the United States is built on reinvention. It was founded by breaking away from the old, the revolution, and has been renewed by waves of newcomers. Change is often seen as positive. Out with the old, in with the new is practically an American motto. Tradition is respected in the US, but innovation is prized. So Americans are generally less tied to ancient history, while Chinese are very proud to carry their ancient heritage forward. History isn't just about what happened, it's about how we carry it. Americans and Chinese each carry their history in their own way, and now we can see why. The beauty of this difference is that there's a lot they can learn from each other. Americans might find wisdom in thinking a little more about the long arc of history, and Chinese might find inspiration in the American knack for reinvention and looking ahead. After all, knowing where you come from and where you're going are both important. What do you think? How do you view your country's history? Share it in the comments. We'd love to hear your perspective. If you enjoyed this exploration, give us a thumbs up and subscribe for more deep dives into culture and history. Thanks for watching, and until next time.